What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Cacciapaglia again, sitting on the couch, making some money with fractional real estate investing. Um, Today, I just want to give you a couple little updates on things that I'm doing a couple little trades that I did that are adding to my returns a little bit, and then a little bit about staking and what my returns have looked like on there so far. Actually, getting more interested in the staking side. I did a video explaining what staking is. I'll put a link below if you haven't watched that yet. And it is my dumbed down version of what staking is. I'm not a expert, as I've mentioned several times, in the way these platforms actually work. Really just trying to bring my real estate expertise to help me, price things, and then with that knowledge, getting on here and trying to mostly make long-term investments. But I talk to you a lot about these little short-term ones where I'm just because it really just juices your return, right? Like I'm spending time on here trying to find properties that I want to put a decent amount of money into, but I keep coming across these little opportunities to make some very quick money as we go. And so here's one that I did last night. This property I had noticed, the tokens were very low. They were at this was my purchase actually at 1438, but it was the stated price at the time when I clicked on it was $11. With slippage, because I bought 25 at once. It actually made my purchase, 1438 when I bought those tokens. But so I bought 25 of them. I immediately looked in the order book and noticed that there was someone that had an open buy order. And so I'll show you this. So, I bought 25 at, it cost me $360 basically. I noticed someone had an open buy order for one for 1869. And so, my total price per token um, was below that. And so even with fees on the sale, so I just turned around and sold that one right away. Um, I took that money and put it in the staking, which, this is one of the things I'm really not sure about. I've been experimenting with staking, but so I put it and I staked it on the USDC side. Now, obviously, I have more on there because I've made a couple more sales and then put it in there. I realized like I'm paying fees and then that's getting for these buys and sells, and it's going into there. So it's not the money I'm making on there is not necessarily real in a certain way. But anyway, I got back. So I sold that one yesterday, and then I kept looking, and I actually found another property, this Mount Vernon one, where there were two open buy orders that were below the price I could buy them with market orders. And so this is something that Lofty has talked about fixing, but if they have open buy orders here, they're not. If I go in and I do a market order to sell or to buy, or these are open. Yeah, these are open buy orders. But if I go into a market order to sell, it's not necessarily picking up these orders here if the prices overlap. And so basically, like in the when the market at that point the market had dipped down below what somebody was willing to pay. Um, I mean, this is obviously not the case right now, but because it had, I went and bought two, and this was actually a different property when I'm talking about that one. This was this one, Mount Vernon. Let me open that one up. Oh, no. But anyway, so because of that, I was able to just buy two tokens and then sell them to the two limit purchase orders right away. And, it's a small amount of money, right? The tokens cost $30.85, plus there was, fees associated with that, but then turned around and sold for a total of 44, and then again some fees. So I didn't make much money at all, but it took me 5 minutes all when all was said and done. And I was on the platform anyway, looking for long-term deals. So that's sort of interesting. And then today I went and market sold and so the money that I took, I went and um, put in. I used to stake Denison here, which the reason that I thought this would be profitable to stake, and like I said, I mean, I'm really experimenting with this. I don't know that this is the case, but it's really imbalanced, right? You have a ton of lofty tokens and very little USDC. I think when that's the case, as long as, and it depends on what I think about the price of this property relative to the current market price of the tokens, right? And so I went and did my due diligence on the property. I felt like I really liked it, not necessarily at this price, but at the price where it was trading at the time. Um, and so went ahead and put some money in, staked that, and then went and sold the rest. And again, a market order, and I mean, you can see on this page where we go in here, from yesterday to today, this was me. I sold, and as I'm selling, the price came down a little bit. And so that was my last sale, right? That 1750 per token. We're not talking about a whole lot of money, especially after fees, but it's I'm on here. I'm able to just be picking up dollars here and there, doing things as I'm looking for other deals. And it's a really weird aspect, something that you don't get in real estate in general, where like I spend tons of time online looking for properties to buy in real life, and I've never made $2 while I was sitting there, just because I happened to notice something. And I think that the more that you can do that and pick up these little spots to make money quickly, while I'm just looking for properties that I'm going to invest more money in. I mean, it's just a really interesting opportunity that you don't see elsewhere. And then I do want, like I mentioned, staking a few times. I want to give you a little update on how I'm doing there. You can see my wallet value of what I've lent has gone up quite a bit, and I'll show you a couple of reasons why. One, I think that I had already talked about putting some money in Walsh in my last staking video. This had shown that there was a whole bunch of activity in it before I did this, but since I put my money in, there's been virtually none. At least on the USDC side. Like maybe if I had staked tokens, I'd get paid, right? But I'm not on both sides of that. This Peoria, I think this is the one that I had done the video on, where I bought some of these tokens and then staked them right away. I've made 20 cents on this, $235, but when you annualize that, it's a 4.72% return. So, nothing exciting here dollars wise, but it's really these, long run returns that I think are going to start to get interesting. I went and staked these ones that I had already bought a while ago. It's a non-performing property, just 3 cents, right? Like all of these are small numbers, but it's because the amount I have put towards any of these are also small, and the time period's really short, right? But then, this is one that I did the other day. May or may not have done it on video. I actually don't recall. But, made $3.50 right away on it. And that's, your annualized return on that is huge. Obviously, this isn't going to continue, but also neither are these zeros, right? Like, I think overall, they'll start to, normalize a little bit, but I get the impression that they're going to be relatively high. Um, you can see on this Denison one, I've already made some money, but it hasn't clicked through. I guess this doesn't work until, I'm really not sure. I don't know why that hasn't shown up yet. Maybe it only recalculates daily or something. I'm not sure why this is showing zero when clearly there's been some return there. Um, it's strange to me. Sometimes properties show up in here, but if there's not the little token, I didn't stake anything. And then I did stake this Madison property. This one, I know I've talked about it a few times. It's a short-term rental. It's run by someone here who's a co-owner of several of these properties. I think he does a really good job running these. But he happened to have a bad month. And so I bought it just for the yield in general. Like it's been sticking around this higher percentage yield, and I bought it when the tokens were actually a couple bucks below this, so I was pretty happy with that. But because there's a bad month, I think that there'll be more trading in it this month, and so I was like, you know what? I'm not giving up so much yield by staking it anyway. Let me throw it in there. Where we go. And so I just put that on there a few days ago. Already made a little bit of money. Again, it's not calculating through it. I'm not exactly sure why that's the case yet. Um, but so all of that on balance, right? Like none of those look super exciting except for this Eileen property. But like when you go up here, okay, so I made $5.76, not a ton of money. Most of these funds have only been in here a couple of days though. And so when it annualizes my return, it's saying, 61.46%. Now, do I believe, like, I don't believe that over the next year it's going to stay this high. I think that it will, I think it'll come down to a more normal level. But so far, I am picking up dollars and cents here and there. I'm going to be keep adding to it, but I'm really interested to see where this number ends up, right? And then one of the things that you have to keep in mind is this isn't free money, right? Even if this stays at 40%, it's possible that at some point I lose some of this money in here. Like if I went and tried to unstake my USDC in some of these right now, I'm going to pay a penalty for that, right? So like I'm having to, in exchange for what seems like it's going to be a great return, I'm locking up money that I'm going to pay a penalty on if I back out. What that penalty will be is it's not possible to calculate ahead of time because it has to do with um, the ratio. Sorry about that. I just froze again. Really have to get a new screen recorder. Actually, I think it might have more to do with my internet because it seems to happen more when I'm changing screens. But anyway, I apologize for that. I am going to eventually get that worked out. But what I was saying is, what the penalty is going to be if when I unstake things is going to depend on what the ratio is in the pool at the time. If it is, if it's a bad ratio, you might pay a larger penalty to take your money out. But if it's good, you pay more. All of that I'm not really concerned with for a couple reasons. I am looking at this platform as a place to put money that I don't need anytime soon. So I'm looking for the long run return. And the asset that I'm doing due diligence on the property itself. So like say for example, I'm putting cash into here and over time, it ends up all getting, people just keep selling into the pool. So I just have all these tokens left. Um, well, as long as, if people do that because the property isn't doing well and they decide to go and sell it, as long as at some point that property sells for an amount that's equal to what I think it will, based on my due diligence, um, the redemptions into the pool will eventually save me from that sort of scenario. So uh, that's why, like, I think so. I'm not a crypto guy. I have a little bit of money in some other crypto. Some of it I have staked. One, the returns on that staking is much lower, and I think Lofty has kind of a funny explanation of why that is. They just say, real estate people expect to pay higher fees. And so you're able to get bigger profits from staking. That's in one of their FAQs. At least that's how I understood what they were saying. And they didn't come right out and say that real estate investors are dumb, but it kind of felt that way when I was reading it. Um, but so they're willing to pay higher fees, and so that's where some of the extra profit is. But the reason that I really like it is I feel like I have an above average ability to determine what do I think that asset's really worth. Can I do a little bit of math and see like, okay, if we end up liquidating this and all we have, because at the end of the day in the pool, you're going to have whatever USDC is left, and you're going to have whatever tokens are left, and so the real risk of staking here is that those tokens become worthless. Uh, and then there's just not enough money in the pool to pay people out. At least um that's how I understand it. And like I said, I mean, there's that's why I don't have a ton of money on here yet. I'm really just trying to experiment, but as I do, I'm trying to share what I learn along the way. Um, it does seem like, at least initially, maybe I've gotten very lucky. But I think it's the case that we're going to get a pretty decent return, if we hold these long in the long run. One of the things that I'm not sure about, I think at any given time, certain properties might trade more. And so, the more that there's trading, the more opportunity you have to profit. And so what I've been looking for when trying to, when I want to stake something is one, what the stated, APY is, but then also looking at these charts and seeing like just how much movement there is, right? Because when you have a lot of movement in there, I think it really just implies that there's more trades happening. I'm not 100% sure that's going to be true all the time. Um, but it seems like when you have a very straight line, I think that that just means there's just not that many trades happening. It also is the difference between having the a liquidity pool and not having one. I think if we click into this is, there's not going to be, let me see if that's true, but I think there's not going to be market orders available. Yeah, you only have, so there's no pool, and so then the pricing only really happens based on tokens in the order book and trades and limit orders. So maybe I'm doing that and it doesn't make any sense. I mean that in the long run I could figure out, well, that's a mistake. This isn't really helping me at all. I mean, obviously you can only stake ones that do have a pool unless you just create your own. But even among the ones that do have their own pools, some of them seem to be much smoother than others. Some of them get a lot more traction. Um, one of the things that I've noticed, at least seems to be the case to me, the ones that have more active discords also have more active trading. Um, Over time, I'm sure that I'll figure some other things out about it and how to, how else to identify ones that, should provide the good returns. At the moment, they only have, when you look in here, they only give you ones, they give you the average APY for the last 7 days and the average APY for the last 30 days. Hopefully, as time goes on, they'll add a year column to that because I'd much rather know what's happened, in the longer term with those properties. Mm. But that has been a complaint of mine of the platform in general. It seems like they have a bias towards the more short-term data, where they're annualizing the last month and whatnot. In any case, I think that's all I want to share with you today. Just sharing a little bit about some of the small profits you can make trading on here. Obviously, if I could find spots where, I could put more tokens in, but most of the time now, the slippage is keeping you from doing it with a whole bunch of tokens. But, 25 on that one property yesterday was kind of nice. And so, in any case, until next time, I will keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.